President Biden has hit the road to sell his first 100 days directly to the American people. The president and first lady will spend today in Georgia. They will meet with former President Jimmy Carter before a drive-in rally tonight. Mr. Biden intends to follow up the message he laid out in last night's speech before a joint session of Congress. He's calling on lawmakers to act on his ambitious multi-trillion-dollar agenda. The president is seeking to expand social programs to help lower and middle-class Americans rebuild the nation's infrastructure and aid in the fight against climate change. Our CBS News poll shows more than 8 in 10 Americans who listened to Mr. Biden's speech somewhat or strongly approved of his message. We should note, in a sign of the partisan divide, more than half of those polled were Democrats. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang gives us a recap of the president's speech as well as the Republican response.
The President of the United States.
Before President Biden even started his speech, he made history.
Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, no president has ever said those words from this podium.
For the first time, 2 women flanked the president as he promised brighter days ahead.
We're working again, dreaming again, discovering again, and leading the world again.
In a setting unlike any before it, with pandemic safety protocols hard to miss, Mr. Biden highlighted his accomplishments, signing a massive COVID-19 relief plan into law that included direct payments to Americans, administering more than 200 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, and creating more than 1.3 million new jobs.
More jobs in the first 100 days than any president on record.
But the president also leveled with the American public about the work ahead, noting that he inherited a, quote, nation in crisis.
The worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
It was that January 6th attack on the Capitol the president said foreign adversaries would bank on keeping Americans divided. He's betting against that.
They look at the images of the mob that assaulted the Capitol as proof that the sun is setting on American democracy. But they're wrong. You know it, I know it. But we have to prove them wrong.
President Biden urged Congress to pass a pair of sweeping infrastructure proposals, the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan.
We can't be so busy competing with one another that we forget the competition that we have with the rest of the world to win the 21st century.
And he pushed lawmakers to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act by the anniversary of Floyd's death next month.
Congress should act. We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice.
But South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who delivered the Republican response, said his work on police reforms has been blocked by Democrats.
My friends across the aisle seem to want the issue more than they wanted a solution. But I'm still working. I'm hopeful that this will be different.
President Biden is heading to Georgia to start promoting the American Families Plan, which he's also working to sell on Capitol Hill. Next month, he is planning to host a bipartisan meeting with the top 4 members of Congress. And the White House says he is eager to meet with them in person to find compromise. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, the White House.
Let's bring in Lynda, Tran and Lon Hee Chen now. Lynda is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. Lanhee is a fellow at the Hoover Institution and worked for Mitt Romney and Marco Rubio's presidential campaigns. Welcome to both of you. Great to have you with us. Lynda, let me start with you. The president is openly embracing a concept Democrats have feared fully wrapping their arms around for 40 years, and that is that the U.S. needs an ambitious expansion of social programs. So why, does he and the party really believe that this is the time for that?
Well, in a word, Tanya, it's the crisis that we're in right now. I think the president made very clear last night that he feels we have under-resourced so many things that we need to invest in, we need to make a down payment on in order to make sure that this country remains competitive on a global scale and to ensure that the citizens of this country are able to thrive. So you heard him lay all of those things out. But what's making this possible in this particular moment is the fact that Americans all around the country, at poll after poll after poll, show that they want a more active government. They want a government that is making things better for them in the wake of COVID-19 and the economic crisis that has been part of all of that. So this is absolutely the right time, that we're facing up against historic obstacles, and they require historic action on the part of this administration.
And Lanhee, we have seen how bigger government is often, the boogeyman that supposedly keeps Republican lawmakers up at night, although they have shown a willingness to spend, on other things. But our CBS News polling has found a majority of Americans do support the president's economic-based agenda, including infrastructure and raising those taxes on the very wealthiest Americans. How do Republicans thread the needle of sticking to their values while also perhaps coming to realize that this might be what the American people want right now?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize there are elements of what the president and his administration have proposed that will be broadly popular and are things that should get done. For example, we should be improving our transportation infrastructure in the United States. There's no question about that. We should be looking to invest more in the next generation. We should be looking to figure out ways to address some of the challenges that the recent issues around policing have raised. These are all things that there is a bipartisan consensus for. And I would argue, Tanya, that there are opportunities for the two parties and the two sides to work together. There have been since day one of this administration. I think the challenge has been when the president puts forward policies and proposals that are so clearly meant to scratch a progressive itch rather than trying to come together on some of these issues. That's what creates the challenges. Let's take infrastructure as an example, which was not the current package that the president unveiled last night, but the one that was unveiled several weeks ago. When you have 25% of that bill devoted to transportation infrastructure, it's going to be hard to get people together and to have bipartisan consensus. So there are ways of threading the needle that allow the president and Republicans to work together for wins that will benefit both sides. That has not been the priority of this administration so far. And I think that is what is frustrating to Republicans. That's what's frustrating to many independents I talk to around the country as well. They say, look, the president promised to work together. And what we see is essentially a unipartisan process to pass what is a progressive wish list of items. And that, I think, is the challenge we're facing right now.
Okay, Lanhee, hold that thought, because I do want to get back to this idea of bipartisanship in a second. But Lynda, I want to go back to our polls for a second. They found that among the viewers who watched the president's speech last night, the words most commonly associated with the speech were presidential, caring, inspiring, and bold. Of course, it's worth noting again that more Democrats than Republicans watched the speech last night, which tends to be the case when you have a Democratic president and vice versa when you have a Republican president. But Lynda, still, what do those numbers tell you about the president's ability to not allow Republicans to define his message?
Tanya, what I think is uniquely powerful about Joe Biden and that we've seen be such a hallmark of his personality throughout his entire 5-decade career of public service is he is able to talk about complicated policy issues in a way that is super accessible to any American watching from around the country. And it was very clear in his remarks last night that that is what he designed the speech to do. He was making a pitch to the American people, and it feels like it really landed. Look, we're in the middle of the most uncertain times that many of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. And to hear Uncle Joe in his reassuring tone tell us that government is going to work for the people again, government is going to deliver and make things better for you, I think was exactly what Americans all around the country wanted and needed to hear. And as a result, you're hearing a lot of people feeling like they have more hope for the future now than they have in many months.
And so, Lanhee, getting back to your previous point, we did hear some of Republican Senator Tim Scott's response in Weijia's package earlier. Let's listen to more. Here's how the senator gave his party's perspective of how the Biden administration has handled negotiations.
In February, Republicans told President Biden we wanted to keep working together to finish this fight. But Democrats wanted to go it alone. COVID brought Congress together 5 times. This administration pushed us apart.
So Lanhee, Senator Scott is reiterating some of what you said earlier, that willingness to negotiate is just not there. But I do want to point out that our polling finds that message has been a losing message for the party so far. A majority of Americans seem to believe the president is seeking out the GOP, and it's congressional Republicans who are the ones they blame for not seeking common ground. So, regardless of reality, if this is the perception, what concerns should Republicans have?
Yeah, the perception challenge is very real. I think, obviously, when you have the first 100 days of a president's term, he is going to be at the apex of his ability to influence the conversation and influence the public policy dialogue. So Joe Biden has taken advantage of that. He has done it very well by many accounts. So I think what Republicans need to do is to continue to convey that they have earnestly and sincerely tried, at least with respect to the initial COVID package, which was passed shortly after the president took office, as well as the infrastructure proposal. Both of those have Republican proposals that could garner, I think, significant bipartisan support. They just have to continue emphasizing what the facts are and recognize that it's a challenging environment to work in. The president won the election last year with a significant margin. You have Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate. It's a tough messaging environment for Republicans to be in. There's no question about it. But facts are facts. And the reality is that there are packages that Republicans have put forward that could garner that support, but that the president and his administration have unfortunately rejected, and Democrats in Congress have done the same. So we'll see where the conversation goes from here. But the reality is that Republicans have made this effort, and hopefully they can help the public understand that that's the case.
Lanhee Chen and Lynda Tran, thanks to both of you. Always great to have you with us.